When you look at this Celtics roster, Gary, I mean, there are lots of guys who contributed, did a lot of great things for them. But who's that one guy that you thought contributed more to the team and maybe didn't have the numbers to back it up, but their contributions were significant?
I'm going to say Payton Pritchard. Not putting up the big numbers, but obviously the king of the half-court shot, giving them a spark, getting offensive rebounds, playing well defensively, just being, getting those putbacks, muscling up against guys who are 6, 7, 8 inches taller and getting that ball up into the hoop and for the layup. Like, just being a tough guy and showing his worth. And obviously, Payton's never going to be probably an all-star and a guy who's going to average 25 points a game or 20 points a game, but he has a role in this league, and it's about finding that role and being consistent and knowing you're going to get minutes and you're going to get an opportunity. And I just think this year he found his niche, and even in the playoffs where he got kind of at times unplayable, he didn't have great minutes in the NBA Finals against Dallas. There was some times he slipped on defense. He wasn't hitting open shots. Besides the half quarters, he really wasn't hitting open shots in the finals. He did not have a great NBA Finals, but I just thought he found a role to listen, I'm going to do whatever I can to contribute to a championship team. And that took a lot of unselfishness. And he also got paid for it. He also got an contract extension. And for me, I think sometimes guys have to be realistic. Like, if you're Payton, your goal is to have a long career. Your goal is to play 10 years in the league, get your pension, play 10 years in the league. However, you got to get to that year 10. And it's going to be where it's like, it ain't going to be a superstar. That's not my path. My path is we look at a guy like a TJ McConnell who's been around 6, 7 years, right? A guy who does his job, does it right, can do little things, hustles, and that's what makes you last in the league for 10 years. And I think Payton is starting to follow that path of okay, I think I can be a superstar in this league. Or I think I can be a guy who can, average 15, 18 points to what? I'm just going to be the guy who can do the roles that I need to help a team win. And those are valuable players. Run point guard, play defense. He's got to do a better job of hitting open shots. He got off to a really slow start this season, picked it up, but then had a kind of a slow ending. That's what's going to keep Payton in the league and keep Payton in the league for 10 years. Because there's guys in the league, I look at a guy way back in the day like a Scott Brooks, guys who played Jose Barea, guys who weren't stars but were stars in their role and played 10 or 12 years because they did exactly what they're supposed to do. They didn't ask, they didn't complain about minutes, they didn't complain about roles. This is what you want me to do, I'm going to be the best at it. And I think that's what the role Payton Pritchard has to play in order to remain in the league 10 years. Because that's the goal. You can talk about, I want to make all-star teams and MVPs, but if you're Payton, you say, listen, I just want to be a contributor on a championship caliber team every year and get to 10 years and say I had a good, solid, admirable NBA career. And that's what he's on that path, and I think this year put him on that path.
Testing my skills on Prize Picks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. Use the code CLNS for the first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Take the guesswork out of buying tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS and get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a good pick. But the guy that I'm going to go with is Al Horford. Al, when you look at his numbers, most of the key stats were down, not just down, but like career lows. And when you're 38 years old, you're clearly near the end of your NBA career. You're having a season where your numbers across the board are down. And the conventional wisdom says that you're not able to give this team what it needs. But Al, to his credit, when they needed him to step up in the playoffs, he was that guy. When they needed him to really, really come through in the regular season, I thought he had a number of games where he was a major difference maker. And his, the bottom line, his numbers are not that impressive this year. I mean, 8.6 points per game. He played, I think, 26 or so minutes a game, which was a career low for him as well. But to his credit, he maximized the time he was on the floor and gave them something, even if it wasn't something that showed up in the stat sheet. His impact, his presence was major for this team to win a championship. And so, Al, people are going to really, I think, lock in on what he was able to do in the playoffs and give him his flowers for that. And he deserves it. But if you really start to break down what he did during the regular season, the playoffs were just icing on the cake because Al Horford was a man among, boys on this team, and from the standpoint of leadership, from the standpoint of accountability, from the standpoint of just really making those necessary plays needed in order to win. And the other thing, too, about Al, we were talking about Luke Cornett and not shooting. Al does not have that problem. And the thing that people, I don't know if they really embrace this, but Al has shot better than 40% from three-point range the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, how many guys get the amount of three-point shots that Al gets? He usually gets 4 or 5 a game and shoots at a low to mid 40% clip. That's just not normal. And a lot of that, again, is Al getting to the spot he wants to get to, Tatum and Brown being able to suck in the defense and leave him open for catch and shoot threes. I was glad to see Al, once we got to the playoffs, remind folks that you do realize that I used to get buckets on the block. I used to take kids downtown and just go to work. And it was good to see him get back to doing that kind of stuff because, again, I think the Celtics had a couple of guys that could certainly play that inside-outside game at a high level.